life could be a dream. Do, 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 shaboom. Life could be a dream.
Phytoplankton pretty much do the same thing that plants do, but they perform their photosynthesis primarily for the marine ecosystem, thus allowing them to become the centerpiece of the ecosystem underwater. They are the main primary producers of the marine ecosystem, and without them, not only would the marine ecosystem collapse, but the entire world would become warmer due to less carbon dioxide being cleaned from the atmosphere. Sharks are one of the top predators in the ocean, meaning they are largely in charge of preventing certain populations, primarily fish and sea lions, from growing out of control, and are therefore a key part of the marine ecosystem because of this. If sharks were wiped out, overeating would become a serious problem, and coral reefs would be damaged due to this, causing massive harm to the world as a whole. Besides eating a lot, sharks are also very skilled at communicating, using both physical and electrical components to communicate with its environment and other sharks. Sharks often arch their bodies, act aggressively towards other sharks, and move their heads when it comes to shark communication, but they also interact with their environment's electric fields due to the ampullae of Lorenzini, which makes their bodies hypersensitive to electric fields around them, using it as a navigation tool and a hunting mechanism. Orcas, or more formally known as Orcinus orcas, are large marine mammals that have unique but not entirely new ways of communicating. Some of the ways that orcas communicate is through pulse calls and whistles, which is similar to how dolphins and whales communicate with each other. Something interesting and unique about the way orcas communicate with each other is that it is surprisingly similar to how humans communicate with each other, in that different regional orcas can have specialized dialects and languages that are separate from others, similar to how humans have their own different languages. Orcas are a case strategy organism, meaning that they reproduce few offspring, require extensive maternal care, and live long lives, usually between 50 and 80 years. Female orcas only give birth to one calf at a time, and they are pregnant for over a year. Crocodiles are quite unique when it comes to reproduction, to them being classified as both K strategy and R strategy due to female crocodiles being able to reproduce between 10 and 100 eggs depending on a specific species of crocodile, and it doesn't consume much energy or time. But they require extensive maternal care for at least 2 years after birth, and take over a decade to reach sexual maturity. Aside from their reproductive capabilities, crocodiles also have some fascinating adaptations to survive the cold or the heat. Specifically the cold, however, crocodiles can slow down their metabolism to go through very long periods of time, more than a year, without any food, and are able to regulate their body temperature to protect their internal organs from freezing to death. Alongside crocodiles and having pretty cool adaptations to the cold and being descended from dinosaurs, avian adaptations include having clean, dry, and flexible feathers that allow them to trap pockets of air around their bodies and form a sort of protective shield against the cold, keeping them warm and moist throughout cold temperatures. They also shiver, like humans, to move their muscles and to raise their metabolic rates in order to produce more heat and get more energy circulation throughout their body. Everybody loves Russia, so here's a Siberian larch tree, which has a pretty unique and innovative way of living in the harsh lands of Siberia. Since it is deciduous, the larch tree sheds off its leaves before every winter, but due to the photosynthetic activity that it has throughout the spring and the summer, the tree is able to conserve large amounts of the energy and store it to have it to use throughout the fall and winter. Archaea, or archaebacteria, use chemosynthesis through the combination of the nitrogen, carbon, and sulfur cycles as a way to produce food and energy to be able to survive the harsh environments that they live in for prolonged periods of time. Not only do their actions affect them, but also shape the environments around them. Beavers are an example of an organism undergoing density-dependent consequences and causing density-independent factors as well. Recently, in areas of South America, there have been large amounts of beavers, primarily in Chile and Argentina, leading to increased competition and overcrowding stress, both of which are density-dependent factors. However, on top of that, due to their increased levels of competition, there have been much more eating and deforestation activity caused by the beavers in the countries mentioned before. The building of beaver dams have caused flooding in some areas, leading to other species to become harmed and severely affected in their ecosystems. And humans have also become affected due to the increased presence of the beavers. As such, both Chile and Argentina formed an eradication program in the mid-2010s to kill 100,000 beavers. Phototrophic bacteria, as their name says, use light to produce their food, thus allowing for the development of phototaxic behavior, which is simply the movement of an organism towards an area where there's an abundance of light. Phototrophic bacteria usually form bacterial colonies in areas where sunlight is abundant and frequent. Lunar cycles do more than just affect the tides of the Earth, as they are also involved in the reproduction timeline of primates, including humans even. In a more specific case, owl monkeys were found in a 2019 study to give birth whenever there was low staff activity, which is usually at night, and when there was more light in the sky, which is directly attributed to a more visible moon. This gives reason to believe that owl monkeys in particular give birth during times when there is either a waning gibbous, waxing gibbous, or full moon, rather than other moon stages.